Welcome to the Moon Man podcast for Wednesday, the 8th of September. I'm Lawrence Mooney.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Chris Page. Hello.
Hello. Make sure you get the listener app too, LISTNR.
I said hello like the tiles guy. Frank Walker from National Tiles. Hello.
Hello. Let's do it. Sad news from Rydal Mere. We reported on a brothel being busted a couple of weeks ago when some snitches called Crime Stoppers. They said they'd seen some activity in the brothel. Well, at the time, 2 men were fined, as well as 2 sex workers, fined $12,500 after police were called to the business. Sadly, that business has now gone to the wall. The Royal Asian Brothel, we didn't know its formal name beforehand. Royal Asian, named after the royal families of Asia. And they do some terrific work, the royal families of Asia. And why wouldn't you call your brothel after them? It is a really sad ending for this brothel.
Which is strange. You don't associate sad endings with brothels very often, do you? But it's but there you go.
Now, let's revisit the story. The original story was 2 men were found inside the brothel by police, and then they claimed they had valid reasons for being there.
Yeah, one was quoting a paint job, and the other one was visiting his girlfriend.
So they said. The guy that was quoting the paint job went home to his wife and said, "You're not going to believe this. I quoted that paint job. It cost me $1,500, and I've got to go back tomorrow and finish it off because the cops interrupted the paint job."
Why do you smell like oil? No, paint oil. Terps.
Oh, I love to put oil and talcum powder all over my body before I start a job. Come on, babe. So he was just in there to splash some colour around.
Yeah, that's exactly what a bit of Dulux.
Paint the walls.
Bit of Tobermans.
So let's go through some of the jokes from the time. Of course, police responded to a tip-off that the brothel was operating in breach of a statewide lockdown. When you dob on a brothel, don't use the term tip-off.
Yeah, nice.
Or a leak or blowing the whistle. Maybe just notifying police. When the police entered the brothel, they all right, we can't say entered. Got to say arrived.
Oh, okay.
When police arrived, they found a madam, 3 sex workers and 2 men in their 50s. Pagey, we gave you the opportunity to trot out your social distancing joke, and it's a very fragile antique, this joke.
It is. It's an oldie.
So let's dust it off and see whether you can get it right at 7:09. Here we go.
They were supposed to be maintaining a social distance of 1.5 metres inside the brothel, but police found they were actually maintaining a social distance of -6 inches.
He did it!
Oh, there you go.
You got it right, yes.
I think that's number 43 that
Police
you've done that on the show.
Police fined the men for not wearing masks.
Yeah.
One of them said, "I am wearing a mask." He said, "A ball mask doesn't count." Neither does the gift. It's great news for bald men everywhere. The first ever Bald Fest is due to take place in New York City on the 13th of September as a way of celebrating people whose hair has fallen out
Oh,
or who don't have hair. We are all follicularly rewarded in this room. I've got a pretty good head of hair for a man in his mid-50s. Yeah. No marching back. And it can be a real worry when your hair falls out. So you've got to decide, are you going to go the comb over? Are you going to go the plugs, the toupee, or are you going to celebrate your baldness, shave it off? And we've got a lot of bald men in our office, not here at the moment, of course, due to COVID.
Great
we
guys.
celebrate them.
Great guys.
Oh, sometimes the sun can catch their head, though, and it can be a little bit distracting. So the man who's organised this is a man by the name of Rami Martin Evanesh, and you may know him as his rapper performer name, Kosher Dills.
Oh, yes,
Kosher.
of course, yeah.
Do you know Kosher Dills?
Yeah. Sure,
He's great.
Straight to the
You're
rapper
so
name,
down.
we know
You're
who
so
we're talking about.
street, you guys. He's organised the festival, which will take place at Brooklyn's legendary underground Rubillard Club and mark America's national Bald is Beautiful Day. Now, I think bald men have taken the initiative, the impetus to get rid of the hair.
Own it.
Remember the band around that, bald blokes used to have, the band of hair? They'd be holding on to the hair. I like that still, though. No comb over. I don't like the comb over, but I am a fan of the band.
The sort of horseshoe shape around the top of the head with the hair.
But, colouring your hair in like Karl Stefanovic does, But every ticket comes with a free hair in a can. So
That's great. And I find bald men very attractive. And I'm just not saying that because our boss is bald.
well, you're also married to a bald guy, aren't
Yeah,
you?
not by choice. I mean, the marriage is by choice, but he hasn't shaved it off by choice. It's just all fallen out.
Has it fallen out in the time you'd known him? Did he start off with the early Homer Simpson and now he's Homer Simpson?
Yeah, pretty much everything's everything's out. Unfortunately, Mother Nature's been mean to him because he's developed a lot of hair in other areas.
Okay,
So
and that's what
it's
happens. It
just
falls out of your
teasing.
head and all of a sudden it's pouring out of your ears, your nostrils and your butt crack. They are advising that you bring sunnies along to the event because of the amount of refracted light. Those with a comb over get in half price. And if you have alopecia, they're going to give you a stick-on eyebrows. It's a cruel joke, isn't it?
I like it.
Paige, you laughed.
works.
Paige, you laughed.
Cruel man.
Airports are exciting places. I like the beginning of Love Actually, when Hugh Grant talks about being at the airport and how they're fun places watching people arrive and depart. And there's love everywhere, really.
Old friends, new friends too. Yes.
Well, there was a bit of love yesterday at a US airport. Love from afar, if you like. An anonymous blonde woman set social media aflame after she was filmed just strolling through a US airport wearing nothing but her bikini and her face mask. She is a tall, leggy, blonde, lovely lady, and of course she got a lot of attention. An Instagram video of her runway modelling stint has garnered 10,000 views in less than 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And it begs the question, what did you see at the airport? Because they are interesting places. I used to work at the airport, Melbourne Airport, Tullamarine. I was a customs officer. And when you first go through your 12 months of training, you just become baggage fodder, basically. You're in the benches there. People are coming in on flights. They're assigned to you. You open up their bags and you go through them. It's a pretty boring job, but it can be quite exciting. Generally, it's just people's dirty washing. They're exhausted coming back from overseas. You might hear them for an extra bottle of booze. Occasionally, you might find some dope or a little bit of contraband. Generally, coming into Australia, food and any primary produce is banned. So to liven things up, people would invent games. Now, on Thursday, if you were working night shift, the last flight into Melbourne directly from Nauru, and this flight was different to any other flight. So if you've ever been to Melbourne International Airport, the baggage carousels are like a crown, and the bags would come out of the top from a conveyor belt, then slide down, and then just circle around like an actual carousel. And so this was the last flight. The baggage hall would be empty. There'd be about, 100 people get off this flight, Nauruans and some returning Australians, but generally Nauruans. Wearing, traditional togas and stuff, and
beautiful.
like crazy curly hairdos, and really lovely people, Nauruans. One of the particular things about this flight is there was some kind of cultural agreement that Nauru could bring in live fish from Nauru, and it didn't have to go through any quarantine check. When I say live fish, fresh fish had been killed, but it was on ice.
In my mind, there's like a goldfish
Fish in a bag.
and I'm like, how long did they last? Because normally you got to speed home from the pet shop before they go belly up.
So I don't know what kind of fish it was, but they would be packed in ice in those white styrofoam eskies. And so we used to have a Calcutta before the flight would arrive, and you would buy a number to see how many came out. So you can buy multiple numbers. The most that had ever come out on a flight was about 30. The least was about 2. So it was between 2 and 30, you'd pick a number. And then we'd stand there, and as they come out the top, you'd go, yes, 1, 2. And a few of the returning Nauruans were onto this. They knew what we were doing. And so it'd be number 6, and somebody would go, damn it! And so there was excitement building around it. And then you'd be clapping to see, 11, 12, and the Nauruans would be like, yeah!
Isn't that gorgeous?
And then finally, the flight ends, the baggage is out, and somebody is cheering, I've got it, and they might win $50 for the night. Eventually, a letter from the minister came through. Any betting on the arrival of Nauruan fish on flight NAA 15 from Nauru on Thursday nights into Melbourne will cease immediately.
Oh, no!
If you can't bet on Nauruan fish,
What's the world come
point?
to?
So the person who had won, quite often as the Nauruans are come through, they'd be patting them on the back. It's like, good on you, mate. Well done. And we'll be back next Thursday night. So it was never a bikini model, unfortunately. It was just an unruined fish. But it's still a lot of fun anyway.
We want to hear from you on 133353. What did you see at the airport? Because they can be a lot of fun, or they used to be. MG tells the most wonderful story when he was playing. It was the 90s, of course, so it was pre-2001, and it shows what a different time that was. In the 90s, a bloke he played with, his standard joke, every time they were going through security, would stop and stand up tall and go, "Everybody stop, this is hijack." And the security staff and the police would all laugh good one, and everyone would have just a great old time. And then, Bin Laden.
You probably can't do that now.
No, don't do that
all
one
the
now.
fun. You probably can't even bring fish into Australia anymore.
From Nauru. That's the best type.
Good morning, Al.
Good morning. How you doing?
We're terrific. What did you see at the airport?
Mascot Sydney Airport. We were loading horses to go to Macau to the Jockey Club,
Right.
and next to us there was these. The Moscow Circus was returning. Anyway, they had a huge big plane there for them, and before they loaded them, they got these plastic garbage bins, filled it up full of wine, cartons of wine to the top. The elephants stagger over, put their trunk in, suck the whole lot down their trunk, and then they just rock backs and forwards, and they reckon that's how they sedate elephants for travel.
So elephants fly just like us, Moon Man.
That's like the club. You just hit those little plastic bottles of wine as hard as you can and go, nay.
Oh my God. Did the elephants start abusing the airport staff afterwards?
No, the elephants were very sedated.
Okay. Well, not exactly like you, Pagey.
Okay,
That is a terrific story. Sedating elephants because they'd have to smell the wine whilst they're drinking it too.
Oh, yeah.
With their big trunkies.
They're snorting it.
It'd be great sommeliers smelling and tasting at the same time. Efficient.
Why do they get a lot of wine? We have only the little bottles when we fly. It's not fair. It's speciest.
It's the lavatory that's the difficult part of the flight of the elephant. Good morning, Zach.
How you going, Moon Man?
We're terrific. What did you see at the airport?
Mate, I was coming back from the Cook Islands to New Zealand.
Beautiful.
One of the Cook Islander locals was foiled up on a barbecue with a pig on the spit, trying to bring it through baggage handling customs area.
Oh, it was just loaded onto the spit and he's going to take it on the plane.
On the plane, you
Carry
can see
on.
them sticking out the end of the foil. It was hilarious.
That is awesome.
Thank you for the calls.
That
Well
wins.
done, Zach. Up next, we do our weekly Triple M brainstorming meeting. It happens on the air and it's called Skit Pitch.
Skit pitch, skit pitch, skitty, pitch it, skitty, pitch, skit pitch.
And it is time for Moon Man's Skit Pitch. Every radio show have brainstorming meetings, blue sky sessions. No idea is a bad idea, but they'll generally get together and sit in a meeting room after the show and do it
boring.
behind closed doors. We're the only show that
Scared.
likes our brainstorming meeting on the air. It's called Skit Pitch. Can be anything, an idea for a radio segment, a TV show, a product. Just throw it out there.
Absolutely. Business idea straight up, Paigey and Jess. You'll love this one. You know how popular Officeworks is, and I love going in there, and I love the smell of stationery. Give me a lever arch binder, some plastic pockets,
Beautiful.
and a bunch of HB pencils.
The only thing I suggest is they need public toilets in there. Because when I relax, I need to go to the toilet, and I've always
Do you
got to
know
go
what?
home.
It's not relaxing. I get the same thing. I reckon it's some nervous tension, some low-level irritable bowel syndrome.
really?
I used to go into Blockbuster, and I'd be going to think, what am I going to buy? What am I going to hire? What am I going to hire? I'd always need to go to the toilet in Blockbuster. I think it's the choice makes you a bit nervous, and all of a sudden, same thing in Bunnings, and you're just like,
Yeah.
whoo.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure you use a toilet that's got a flush attached to it in Bunnings. Okay, so Officeworks, we're going to open a competitor to Officeworks, but it's just normal office stationery. It's a shop where you go in and you just pinch Post-it notes, highlighters, a packet of paper, toilet roll and pencils. It's real office work.
The office, yeah.
Okay, to help all the hipsters who are going without money during lockdown because a lot of cafes are shut, we're going to rent out the big holes in their earlobes so people can store stuff there. Self-storage in hipsters' earlobes so they can hang clothes in there to dry. perch birds in there, put a small child in there.
I'd say, Tildy, we're dropping you off to a hipster's earlobe today. Have fun.
And you can see her just swinging on it, like
actually quite
happily
like
backwards
it.
and forwards, and the hipster's like, "Yeah, cool, man. I got a child in my earlobe."
How was your day? Oh, I listened to Mumford and Sons all day.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to see another quinoa smoothie. Okay, let's move on. A new fashion line. You know how a lot of people like wearing US sports apparel?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very popular amongst a particular type of person. Well, making up names of American sports teams just to see if people will buy it. Like, the El Paso Guacamoles. Which is a great name for a team, I reckon.
You get to charge about $200 as well for these things that people are wear. You were saying, great one, was it the New York Towers?
Yeah.
And to see if people...
An ice hockey team. The Dallas Assassins. The Philadelphia Condoms. Be safe, everybody. The Guantanamo Bay Buccaneers.
I'd back them. If they were
For
really
sure.
a team, I would put my money
They're
on
just
that team.
orange.
Yeah, and they really
Yeah.
grind down the opposition.
All right, let's move on to my favourite idea today. A lot of people still stuck at home are accessing adult entertainment via the internet. I don't know whether you've heard of a site called Pornhub.
Oh, my friend uses it.
Yeah, a
lot.
friend of mine uses it heaps. A friend of mine went through the entire
Catalogue.
He
There's
finished
a lot
it.
in there.
Is it possible to finish one of those?
I
I
guess.
don't
sites?
know.
Anyway,
And my
instead
friend
of porn,
waits for her husband to go to sleep and then watches it.
really, I know who your friend is. She is terrific, and hello to you, Sonny. Instead of Pornhub, I'm going to start one called Bornhub, where you're watching whatever you like, but Shane Bourne is commentating over the top. Oh, look at this. This is sensational work. This bird is alone at home, and here comes the plumber. Oh, obviously he's here to fix the pipes, am I right, guys? I'll tell you what, that's going to go right around the S-bend. Standard kind of scenarios for adult entertainment.
I'd log into that.
Look at this. The masseuse has oiled that up a treat.
Now, is his
Easy,
head-
champion. You're not going to fricassee it, keep you? Hey, you're going right under the towel there. That is not good.
Is his head going to be on screen or is it audio
Well,
only?
maybe you can choose to have him in the corner.
Yeah.
Here we go, thrill seekers. There's a young bloke at home enjoying himself. He's been sprung by his stepmum. I don't even believe that it's his actual stepmum by the look of her.
That is Skip Pitch.
There's a great story about a man that was using his angle grinder, Jess, which is I reckon the angriest of all power tools, the angle grinder. Very dangerous. Anyway, he had the right protective gear on. He had a face mask on, and the angle grinder wheel has shattered, and half of it has gone straight into the face guard and has pierced it, and is only millimetres away from his head.
It's
There's a great
lodged in
photo
there,
there.
right? Yeah.
Lodged into it, so it is cut off or cut in half, flown immediately straight into the face mask, lodged in. If he hadn't have had the protective gear on,
dead.
it would have gone straight into his face.
For sure. It almost looks like the blade's staring him in the eyes.
Yeah.
That's how close it is.
I reckon it would have just really been hanging out of his face, nice half out of his face. It would have been a pretty impressive photo too.
He would have
But
won
we're-
the monthly competition in Zoo Weekly magazine, the injury section.
They would have
Yeah,
brought
that's-
back
yeah.
Zoo Weekly, Ralph and FHM just to have a photo of Matthew Peters, who was using a run-of-the-mill angle grinder. I actually laboured for a plumbing company at the end of school one year, and they said cut up these sheets of corrugated iron with an angle grinder and watched on. I could feel the eyes watching me. Seconds in, the thing got away from me and just went on its own.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, it's out of my hands now. It's an angle grinder with a mind of its own. It's taking over the city.
God, it's different days on the work site back then, wasn't it? Where it's funny to see your apprentice
Hopefully
chop
hurt
their
himself.
Yeah.
fingers off.
Watch this guy die. It'd be
Yeah,
hilarious.
guys.
And yes, it could have well have killed him, Jess. You're right. Could have split his head right in half. We want to know, what was your close call? I remember as a kid I had quite a close call. I've had a few in my time. I've had a pretty good career of close calls. But my brother and I were walking to the station to go to school. We used to catch the train to school every morning. The 8 o'clock out of Basie. Yeah, be on it. That's where it's at. And a truck went past and hit an overhead power line that was drooping. It, just ripped it. The truck keeps going, and down it comes, and it hits the road. It had been raining, so it goes sparks off the road, bang, and it bounces. I'm watching with all the wonderment of it. Wide-eyed 13-year-old's like, oh, that's awesome. Look at that. My brother goes, get out of the way, and just kind of drags me as it just whips around. Sing, sing, sing. Just has to touch you and dead.
Oh, my God.
And it was sparking, and I could have been taken as a 13-year-old.
Imagine if you didn't exist. Like, where would we all be now? The world wouldn't have been subjected to You Can't. Like, You Can't would have never been on people's ears.
Subjected.
No, not
You mean blessed?
Well, that's
with
what I
You
mean.
Can't, I think is what you
Exposed
meant.
is what I was looking for.
Choose your words carefully.
Oh, sometimes.
No, just imagine if I wasn't here. It'd just be you and Paigey.
Oh, God.
What a horrible show.
I wish you got closer to that line.
Brandon Wyatt.
Yeah, wish that had grabbed
Look at
it.
this. People already calling for this.
Tell us about your close call. Good morning, Andrew.
When I was about 8, we had one of those pool covers that was like the bubble wrap.
Yep.
And I thought I could float on it. No one was around. And I jumped on it, and then it wrapped me up and sunk me to the bottom of the pool.
Oh, man.
And then I was on the bottom, and I was trying to bunny hop. I couldn't reach the surface because I was too small. And then I finally got to the edge and then grabbed like 2 fingers on the edge and pulled myself up. And then came home. Oh, Dad came home that arvo and just said, I told him about it, and that was it. The pool cover was ripped off.
Yeah.
Often in that situation, dads, full of emotion, give you a flogging before they decide to do anything else. Did he embrace you or give you a clip?
No, he was angry at the stupidity at first, and then the pool cover went, and he was angry at the pool
Standard dad.
That is scary. Thank
Child,
you,
then
Andrew.
pool cover.
Scotty, tell us about your close call.
So we had a woodworking and metalworking room at school, and there's a wooden lathe, and one of the guys, actually with long hair, got his hair caught in the lathe, and it wound up and tore off part of his scalp.
Yeah!
And to make it worse, they took a photo of it and actually put it above the lathe for future use.
Oh, that's good.
Always
They
put
put a
your
photo
hairnet
of
in. You'd go in and the tech teacher would always go, put your hairnet on, and you didn't want to wear your hairnet, and then all of a sudden, neck minute,
God.
scalp
There's a
edge.
scalp. Stuart, what was your close call?
Good morning, guys. Yes, I nearly got decapitated towing a truck out, basically a dead truck out with a 360 digger.
What
Yeah,
what happened? So the truck's bogged or just stuck in bush or?
No, this is a scrap truck. We were
Right.
towing it out with a 360 digger. I was sitting in the cab of the truck trying to steer it. It was totally dead. No, wouldn't start, nothing. Brakes stuck on, and as we're towing it out, all of a sudden it started, and it was stuck in gear, and it started driving straight towards the 360 digger. The bucket was up in the air and went straight through the cab window. I luckily ducked, and missed me by inches.
Good duck.
That is
Stuart,
good
great
ducking.
duck.
That is very good presence of mind. So you saw it coming, you thought, got to get out of here.
I had literally seconds. It was, I was an apprentice at the time, and I had to really think about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
It's nice having a head. Good
Are
for
you
How
still
good
in the
living.
same kind of business, salvage, heavy machinery, that kind of stuff?
I'm still in the same trade. Luckily I didn't have any serious injuries like that.
Oh, that's good. Did you
Oh,
make
on
a
you,
promise
Stuart.
to yourself, Stuart, when you survived? Did you say, I am going to XYZ?
No, the first thing I had to do was change my shorts.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, you really ended
That is a really good choice.
Thanks, Stuart.
Very shortly, we cross to Union boss Len McCluskey and find out what he's shutting down.
Where's he from again?
He's from England, love. From the north of England.
And this music means we've got the boss on the line, the head of the Consolidated Union of National Transport, Jess.
Oh, if that acronym
Yeah, you know,
was on
we
the
don't
side
even need
of
to
one
go
of those
through
helicopters that the Taliban fly around in. What's that? CUN?
I wouldn't think they'd put it on any sort of helicopter. You know what it stands for. Len McCluskey, the union boss, is on the line. Good morning, Len.
Good morning. United we stand, divided we fall. No ticket, no start. Let's get the union membership up and about. We need to represent the workers. Good morning to you, Paigey, you Tory bastard.
Thank you.
Good morning to you, Moonman. your left-wing card-carrying unionist and you, Jess Eva, a shining light in this team of dullards.
Oh, thanks.
And a member of One Nation. Because you love your fish and chips and your red hair, and you don't have to spring to the defence of their policies all of a sudden. Everyone's a member of One Nation behind the wheel, Jess. Don't you worry about that.
Well, that's right. I do like fish.
If there's a blockage in the tunnel, we all know.
Len, we know you keep your eyes on international affairs, so you'd already be across this, but the Taliban have officially formed government in Afghanistan. Now, I'm going to make an assumption here. I reckon the Taliban might be a bit right-wing for your liking, Len.
Paige, I can see what you're doing there. Bit right-wing for your like a bit. Well, as a matter of fact, the Consolidated Union of National Transport has been involved in boycotting and some measures to influence foreign governments in the past. So we might bring our weight to bear on the Taliban. I've been watching with great interest. I mean, their interim Prime Minister, Mullah Hassan Akund, has he seen our acronym and he's working with that, is he?
God.
Tell you what, a right Akund, that bloke is. But Mrs. McCluskey, she's all up and about for, women's rights. She's a feminist, Mrs. McCluskey, and we believe in equality too. And so I'm going to shut down the Taliban. I'm going to work on it.
Good.
First of all, painting over women's faces on beauty salons. Shut it down. Put the roller down, Mr. Akund. You can't paint over women's faces. They're the spice of life, aren't they? They're the great 51% women. They make it all interesting. Come on, Taliban, get on board. Tearing around in tritons with mounted machine guns, neck minute. As you would say, Jeff. Neck minute, you're in a Dodgem car. Make up your bloody mind. Are you a death cult, or do you want to have some fun? You can't have your most famous landmark, the Khyber Pass, being a rhyming slang for a butt. All right? Shut it down. An all-male government. Did you see this, Paige? They've just impanelled an all-male government. Well, I'm saying to you, stop stealing ideas from the union movement, Taliban. We had that one first, Mr. Akun. And finally, Australia's going to play Afghanistan in cricket, aren't they? Oh, the Australians have finally found a team they can beat, Paige. Good luck when they're bowling bloody grenades at you. Shut it down.
Thank you, Len.
No fun for the Taliban.
See you soon.
In 30 seconds' time, Moon, you will can't Guy Sebastian, finally.
Fucking guy.
Time for Moon Man to be the arbiter of what's right and wrong with the world. Yes, strap in for You Can't Do That.
It's Wednesday in the Kangaroo Court of Can'ts, and it's time to throw the book at somebody for a perceived wrong. There will be no fair hearing, Jess, and no right of reply. We present the evidence and then we take you down. Today, we call the defendant Guy Theodore Sebastian into the Can't dock. Just a short one here. Theodore is one of the names of the chipmunks.
Chipmunks, yeah.
And Guy is a singing little chipmunk. Anyway, let's move on. Mr. Sebastian, it appears that you are charged with backflipping, fence sitting and wibble wobbling like jelly on a plate. You are a musical artiste, and you signed on for the hashtag vaccination campaign run by this country's music industry to encourage people to vaccinate so that live music can return to this, the greatest city in the world. Then yesterday, in accordance with your beige stance on everything, you withdrew your support with this tepid, flaccid, simpering, apologetic load of nonsense.
The campaign was posted to my page without my direct involvement, and it is not my role to communicate in the way that post was communicating.
Yes, it is.
I would never, ever tell people what to do when it comes to their personal health choices. So I just want to say I'm really sorry. It was not a post that communicated with love or compassion, which I feel is what's needed when it comes to addressing things like vaccinations.
Oh, I've just had a taste of a nice wet lettuce sandwich. Do you guys want to
How
bite?
limp was that? And this is coming from a guy that does have 2 of the vaccinations and isn't prepared to stand up and spread the message. Guy Sebastian, you can't be a proxy anti-vaxxer. Guy Sebastian, you can't. Guy Theodore Sebastian, won Oz Idol in 2003 and has enjoyed some notoriety, nay, fame and fortune since. Sure, there's hard work, but he has benefited greatly from the society in which he lives, and it is time to give something back. He has 500,000 followers on Insta and some may say a lot of influence, yet has chosen to do nothing. Now, remember we were told by rock legend James the Hound Dog Young last week that in 1956 only 0.6 of young people were vaccinated against polio and 60,000 people were being affected each year. Then Elvis took a shot on the Ed Sullivan Show and 80% of people became vaccinated.
Oh, wow.
That's what influence can do. Vaccinations stopped polio. Begs the question, who is this country's Elvis Presley? It is not Guy Sebastian, purely because he has not only decided to send out an anti-vax message, but because he's not Elvis.
I'm just trying to think who's most likely to die on the toilet. It might be Clive Palmer. But people are going to listen.
But we really need to know what Delta Goodrem thinks about vaccination, or Keith Urban, or Boy George. Let's get Seal involved. Everybody from The Voice needs to say what they think about vaccination.
Does it have to be a singer or can it be any prominent Australian?
Well, the thing is, which prominent Australian is as big as Elvis right now?
Crocodile Dundee? Paul Hogan. But he's old anyway, so you wouldn't know. Okay.
I don't think there's a famous
There's no
Australian.
Elvis. We don't have Elvis.
We don't have an Elvis.
No.
So we depend on people that have some notoriety and fame to come out and be pro-vax. Guy Sebastian, you can't. And that's your Can't Do That this morning, Page Wire. And that's it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new You Can't.
I know. I get all these things.
Yeah.
I get it.
For more of the show, you can catch us live every day from 6 a.m. on Sydney's 104.9.
Triple A.